Okay, now we put the cable back in the trunk where it belongs. Did you put the cap on the cable? The cap has to go on the cable. The cap, the blue cap. Always keep the cap on, because if the water or ice or anything gets in, it's one thing to keep in mind always with electric cars. You have to keep the water out. And we bought a nice 24-foot extension cable, which is rated 300 volts. It's a heavy-duty cable, 12 gauge, 24 meters, 80 feet actually. So you'll never run out of cable if you need to recharge it at a plug that's a little farther away from the car than normal. Normally all this cable goes in a bag, but for everyday use we don't bother. We don't bother with the bag. We just put it and we close the trunk. Okay, go ahead. Now they show the remote, the car key and the remote. Pull out the antenna. Pull out the antenna. There you go. And then it has various functions. And basically, if you press the function key, it shows you how charged the battery is. It shows you as well. You can turn on the remotely your heating, your air conditioning, defroster, etc., etc. So it's a very practical thing to have. That was a surprise. We didn't know about it. Anyways, go ahead, start it up. Nice LED lights in the back that are both the position lights and the brake lights. Of course, the total silence when the car rolls. The engineers had to come up with a sound, artificial sound that's generated when the car is rolling below 30 kilometers an hour to warn the pedestrians of the approaching car. So the design is very modern and very unique. Right now only the position lights are on. So you have the low beams and the parking lights are on. During the day, the daylight running lights required in North America are the ones at the bottom, mounted on the bumper, the front bumper. The car is fairly small, it's only 3.5 meters, but it's surprisingly spacious inside. Okay, let's go inside and take it for a spin. Belts on. Okay, let's go. So basically, on the dashboard we have the economy range meter, the speedometer. On the left there's a battery level. Right now it's fully charged. And right now the range that's given to us is 110 kilometers when it's fully charged. This is low temperature. In a warmer temperature, the range will go up to even 120 or even 150. Today the temperature is around 0, so that affects the longevity of the battery and the range, of course. Very basic. This is the basic version of the North American IMIEV. So it does not have all the bells and whistles that the top-of-line model has, which would have a larger computer screen with navigation, etc. The other thing that the IMIEV, let's take it on the highway the other way. The other thing that the IMIEV drivers will note, especially the ones who are using it in the colder climates, is that basically the moment you turn the heater on, it cuts down your range by about 20 to 30%. and so basically you have to avoid doing that if you at all can. And the other thing, of course, the air conditioning will have a similar effect in the summer. So this car is obviously best in moderate climates where not too much air conditioning or heating is required. Right now we're driving in a cold weather on 0 degrees, and the heating so far is not necessary. The very good and practical function of the car is the fact that you can preheat it while it's plugged in remotely using your remote that's attached to your key. Also, the car is equipped with heated seats in the front. That also helps diminish the need for heating while driving. The acceleration is pretty solid. Right now we're driving in the D mode. There is also the E for eco mode and B for regenerative braking mode. The most economical, the one that gives you the most range, is the B mode. As soon as you take your foot off the pedal, it starts braking the car basically. The only warning with that is that the brake lights don't come on. The car decelerates strongly in the B mode, and the brake lights don't go on until you actually tap the brake pedal. So that's kind of a warning to drivers who are using that mode. Beware of drivers behind you who will not see the brake lights until you actually hit the brake lights. Okay, and the car will still decelerate strongly in the B mode without the brake lights on. So right now we're going to go and try and take it on the highway. That's the other note to I guess all the electric cars, and this one in particular as well, is that the range will diminish with the speed. So in city speeds, the range of the car diminishes actually less than the actual kilometers that you're driving. Whereas on the highway, if you're doing over 100 kilometers an hour, the range disappears twice as fast, meaning that the actual range, if you have driven 15 kilometers, you will take off 30 kilometers from your range using highway speeds at 110, 120, or the top speed 130 especially. So the car itself is quite spacious inside. The windshield is quite far from the driver. The driver's position is very comfortable. Of course, it's equipped with power windows, etc. In the back, it's quite spacious as well. It's a hatchback, of course. It has a smallish trunk, but it's sufficient for city driving and city shopping. The two seats in the back are quite comfortable. Two tall people can sit comfortably. And of course, it's a 4-seater, not a 5-seater. And so the 4 adults can be seated quite comfortably. So we're going to be approaching a highway soon. We'll try and accelerate in a normal mode momentarily. The other thing is that the rear window defroster and the seat heater do not diminish the range. So it's only, I will try and zoom in on the range if we can. I don't know if, yeah, we can probably try and focus on the range a little bit. And so right now it's showing the range of 107. And if I turn on momentarily the heating on, which is done using these two buttons. This is the temperature, and this is the fan speed control, and this is the direction of the ventilation. So if I turn on the fan into the heating, even into its lowest position, the range just went from 107 to 73. So that's basically a 30% drop in the range in the drive mode. And right now we're accelerating in the into the highway speeds, okay? And right now we're still very comfortable, so I'm going to turn the heat back off, or the fan back off. And of course the range will go back up to 105. We're accelerating comfortably, we're following the traffic comfortably. Right now at 105. We'll try and see how we can top up. Even though the car is fairly tall, it's as tall as some of the small SUVs or even vans. The driving position is quite tall as well, you're much taller than most of the sedans on the road. And the car is fairly tall and narrow, but it feels pretty solid on the highway, even at highway speeds. Unlike the smart cars, which felt very unstable on high speeds, especially with the side winds. This car is just over a ton in weight, 1,050 kilograms or so, and it feels quite comfortable on the highway. Do you want to comment on how it feels on the highway? It's the first time you're driving the electric car. You drove it before in the city. It's the first time you're driving it on the highway.
Oh yeah.
How does it feel?
It's a bit scary, but it does feel quite stable, even for an electric car this tall.
Yeah, and today we have quite a bit of wind from the northwest, so of course you can hear it a little bit. So the wind noise is the prevalent noise, and between the tire noise and the wind noise, of course, there is no engine noise. Unlike the IMIEV that you drive in the Gran Turismo 5 computer game, there is no electrical noises. So all you hear right now is the wind noise and the tire noise, pretty much. So, is it a little scary at 110?
Yeah, a bit. I think you have to get used to it at first.
Yeah, and the top speed of the car is 130, of course. And we'll check on the range right now. It's gone down to 96 kilometers from 105. So it shows as if we drove 10 kilometers. In actual fact, we drove maybe 5 kilometers. So again, at highway speeds, the range diminishes twice as fast. So it really is more of a city car than a highway car. And using it on longer distances on the highway is not the best use for this car. This car, the battery just died. No, still working, still recording. This car is sold in Canada at a base price of $33,000 Canadian. With the government subsidy, the Ontario government subsidizes this car by $8,200, bringing down the price to just around $25,000, which is very affordable compared to some of the European prices of this car that are equal to like a base BMW X3 SUV or a base BMW 520d. So here in Canada, it's equivalent to price to a Golf or a Jetta, Volkswagen Golf, not even GT, less than a GTI, slightly less than a GTI actually. So it's a very affordable price, and I think it'll do well in Canada. And of course, this being the first car delivered in Canada, hopefully there will be many of them soon on the road. The only recommendation is that Mitsubishi tries to sell you the Eaton charging unit for EVSE, electric vehicle supply equipment, which charges the car at 240 volts, which takes 6 hours. And then the car comes standard with a cable that plugs into your regular 110 volt outlet. In Canada, it charges fully the car in 22 hours, although I found that since I never deplete the battery completely, if it's half charged, it will fully recharge overnight, no problem. And so as long as you can plug it in both at home and at the office, you will be fine with just the 110 standard cable. I would not spend the $2,000 on the EVSE equipment that they want to sell you, and that includes the installation, mind you, and pre-wiring. So all the European drivers of this car, they automatically get the cable that is compatible with 240 volts, and it will recharge fully from fully depleted to fully charged in 6 hours. So rather than buying the $2,000 EVSE equipment, you can just get a European cable for this car, and it'll plug into your regular 240 volt outlets, which we do have in North America. They are used for household dryers, household stoves as well, and you can adjust the cable or just change the plug to fit those two outlets.